to Wargaming World and to a game of The Men Who Would Be Kings. And so we're back in South Africa in 1879, and we've got a battle between the British and the Zulus, and you'll see we have a relatively small battlefield area. Now, although I've got a very large table, I've actually set up quite deliberately just a centre area fighting for this dressing station, and the idea of this is to mean that we've got a fight for this central point. It means that we lose the width advantage for the Zulus, but also in terms of the British, they've got to come onto the table first, so we've also got some problems where the Zulus might be right upon the British before they've got a chance to set up. Now, before we set up the game and start with the first turn, let's have a look at the forces themselves and the characters. So the British forces are actually going to start here. So we have our Natal Native Contingent unit, which is 16 men, and we have our leader. We'll take a look at him in a moment. We've got our second British unit now, where they're regulars, but they're also an elite unit, so they are 7 points, which is going to be the same as each of the other two British units. Here is our second, and finally this is our third British unit. And so our 24 points are spent with 3 British units. Regulars are 6 points each, plus 1 for each being elite. Takes us to 21, and then our Natal Native Contingent unit will take us up to 24. Now let's take a look at our leaders. So we're going to roll down the gorge in order to see what our leaders are like. So we start off in terms of our leadership level, and then we're going to look at our leadership traits. So the red dice is going to tell us about the leader level, and then we've got 2 rolls. So the first is the green dice, the blue is the second dice. So let's look at this example for our leader of the Natal Native Contingent. Okay, so 5, 2 and a 6. Okay, so we have a good leader here. So it's a leadership of 6. He's a jolly sort, and it means that when we move at the double, they can add an extra 2 inches to it. And now the first of our regular leaders. So we have 1, 6 and 1. Well, although we have a moderate leadership of 7, he's an up and atom kind of leader, which means that where possible, we will lead with an attack. Second British regular. So 5, 5 and 1. Well, although a leadership of 5, he's opposite of our previous leader, where he will fire always where that is an option, rather than get the bayonets out and into attack. And our final leader, 5, 1, 1. Well, that's really unfortunate, because although we might have had a leadership there of 5, in fact, that 1 and 1 means that we've got a hapless leader with a leadership of 10. And so we're now going to take a look at the Zulus. And first of all, we've got these 3 units. So normally they would be 3 points as tribal infantry. However, they are all fierce fighters, which is an additional point for each. So that's 12 points in total. So that gives us a further 12. And we've now got 4 other units, all of which are 3 points each, all with 16 men each. So let's have a look at their commanders. Let's start off the commanders of the fierce units. So let's start off with unit number 1, 4, 6 and 3. Now this is a really respected warrior. Originally we would have 6 for leadership, however that's a really good trait. So there's a jolly good chap, very brave, and so we've got a leadership of 5. Okay, our second leader, there we go, a 6, 4 and a 2. So this is a great leader, leadership of 5. Apparently his trait is he's nice to have tea with, but other than that, no other specific characteristics, but a leadership of 5 is good enough. Here comes our third leader. Okay, 1, 4, 6. Well, he should have a leadership of 7, but instead he's a very steady character, which is good for him, which means he's got a leadership of 6 through his traits and characteristics. This is our 4th Zulu leader of what seemed to be a very strong force. Same again, 5, 4, 4. And so this is a leadership of 5. He's not a great planner, so that would have meant had they been armed with ammunition for rifles, it would be a problem, but unfortunately it isn't. So unfortunately for the British, instead we just have another good leader, and yeah, it's a leadership of 5. Leader number 5. We've got a 3, a 2 and a 6. A leadership of 6 here, but again, jolly sort, so we've got somebody who can get the team to move with an extra 2 on when they're moving at the double. Okay, so the 6th of 7 leaders. And we've got another go on again. So we've got 5, 6, 1. Well, it's another up and atom leader, leadership of 5, and will always attack where the opportunity arises. The final leader, we've got a 5, 5, 4. We've got a very good leader here at 5 with the leadership, and also his trait means that he always wants fair play, and he won't attack somebody or a unit that are pinned. Right, that's our 7 Zulu leaders. So we've got all our characters, and we're ready to start the game. I'll just add also that sometimes in the games that I've played beforehand, I'd added sort of some home rules, with it being a solo game, about having double phases and things like that. I'm not going to do any of that in this particular video. Just get it straight from the rule book and just see how the game goes. Right, so let's see the Zulus approach and how they go on with the British trying to hold them back in turn 1. Right, so this is turn 1, and we have 6 Zulu units advancing towards the British position. We've got a roll for the British to come on the table, although we have the Natal Native Contingent there who don't need to roll to move. And we have, as I say, 6 Zulu units with a further unit in reserve. Just before we need to take our tests, we have to remember that we have our leadership number, and also the British regulars are also elite. So it means we add 2 to all of the dice that we make. So if we need a 7, it means effectively that if we get a 5 or higher, then it'll be a pass. So we need to get above the number for our first rolls, and so our first unit is a 7, so that can come on the board. Second unit with a 6 can come on the board. Remember, with the final unit we need a 10, so what can we get? Not enough. Well, 3 of the 4 British units are onto the table. However, they've approached in such a cramped manner that they aren't really in any position to get into a firing spot, so therefore we're going to move to turn 2, and let's hope the British can keep moving. So for the British, we're going to do a couple of moves. We have to move into close order for the first unit. We're going to move across them, the second unit, which is behind them, and they're going to try and bring on the third unit as well. I've moved the Natal Native Contingent 8 inches. They don't need to take a test to do so. And as for the Zulus, I've moved all of them up, all 6 units here. Moved 8 inches, getting closer, ever closer to the British. So let's take a roll and see if we go into close order. Yes, that's fine. Secondly, can the unit move? Yes, they can. And finally, do our third unit come in with the leadership of 10? No, they don't. So at the end of the second turn, the British unit on the left-hand side are in close order. The one in the middle aren't. They've moved into position, but they will need to move into close order in the next turn. And our Natal Native Contingent continue to move on the left. The Zulus, we essentially have 3 columns, as it were. So you've got 2 units here on the left-hand side, approaching the dirt road. 2, which are the better forces, the fierce fighters in the centre. They're about to take this dressing station. And on the right flank, we have another 2 units approaching the dirt track on the right-hand side, and potentially going to attack the Natal Native Contingent. The Zulus still have that unit in reserve, and the British have a further unit of infantry, but we can't get them on the table due to poor leadership. The game I actually haven't instigated who actually goes first, so I'm going to roll for that. The red dice being British, and the higher goes first in terms of turns, and it'll be the British first on turn 3. Okay, so British are going to fire. It's going to be this unit firing. It's long range because we're beyond 12 inches. We've got 13 dice in total, needing 5s. That's 5 casualties, although it's long range, so it's 2 casualties per figure. And we round down, so that's 2 killed. Is it the leader? See if it's a double 1? No, it isn't. British take a test for close order. And they pass that. And will our 3rd unit arrive? No, it won't. Now this unit is in close order, and I've also just moved the Natal Native Contingent further back. First of all, we need to take a pin test for the Zulus who've taken casualties, and certainly that's not a great roll. Well, double 1 means that they're definitely pinned. And so at the end of turn 3, we've got the first Zulu unit being halted here. However, the unit behind them have just moved through. They don't have to have any delay in doing so. And then we've got 2 fierce units in the centre, advancing towards the British line. On the right hand side we've got 2 units advancing towards the Natal Native Contingent, and finally the Zulu reserve has moved in and are going to continue working on that right hand side. Looks like the British weakness. And so turn 4, and both of our British units, companies A and B, can fire volley fire, firing at the Zulus as they approach. The Natal Native Contingent, I think, are going to stay in that position, but can we bring in C Company? We need 8 or better. And yes, we can. So C Company are on to the tabletop. They need to somehow advance over to the right hand side, so we'll see what happens in future turns. But now let's have a look and see about the firing from companies A and B. Okay, volley fire means that it improves the firer's accuracy by 1, so we need 4s rather than 5s, and because we're at short range, that means that the casualties now are 1 hit. 1 casualty is 1 figure. So first of all, A Company, 13 dice, needing 4s, and that's 9 kills. Is it the leader? Yes, it is. So essentially that's the entire front rank and the leader killed, and they are automatically pinned. And in the centre, another 13 dice, again needing 4s. This time 5 kills. Is it the leader? No, it isn't. Now we need to take a test and see if the unit is pinned. 10. Just need to double check that. And a 10 is a pass, so the units can continue as we turn to the Zulu turn. Now we need to take a test with this unit at the back here to see whether it gets past it being pinned. And a 10, it means it's fine. Now the unit in front was pinned in this turn, so that was the action. But here the unit in front is going to charge B Company, and so we need to take a test to see whether it will attack. So it's a leadership of 5, and yes, it'll make it. And so the Zulus make contact. It's fierce fighters, so it's going to be 4s versus 5s for the British, and we have 12 Zulus and 13 British. Okay, so Zulus blue dice, British green dice, 4s for the Zulus, 5s for the British. Okay, so 7 British killed, 4 Zulus. Let's see the consequence. Let's check and see if it was the British leader. No, it wasn't. And was it the Zulu leader? No. So the British are pushed back, and we need to test whether they're pinned. In effect, after 7 being killed, we need a double 6. And yes, they're pinned. Now we're going to take a test to see if this unit will charge against the Natal Native Contingent. And just to say, the second fierce warriors unit has moved up behind the first. Okay, test to see whether they will charge or not. It's a 6. and 6 is a result, so we need to effectively move at the double. The Zulus are going to reach it if I roll anything other than a 1, I think. So I've moved both these units up on the right hand side, and the Zulus have made contact with the Natal Native Contingent. They're not fierce fighters, so we're both fighting each other. I'm going to have the front 8 fight in contact, needing 5s, and I'll add the leaders in. So yeah, we need 5s, and essentially it's 9 against 9. Okay, 9 against 9, needing 5s. And another Zulu victory, 2-1. Is it the Zulu leader? No, it's not. And is it the British leader? No, it isn't. The Natal Native Contingent will be pinned unless I get a double 6. And they are pinned. So there's the end of turn 4, and the Zulus have had 2 victories in hand-to-hand fighting. The British have pushed back, or been pushed back, and realistically they're going to be hard pushed unless we can see some kind of success from C Company. Right, we are at the start of turn 5, and first thing we need to look at is Company A. If you remember, our leader here, in terms of his trait, is that he always wants to be up and at 'em and to get into combat. So therefore we need an attack roll to see if Company A will attack this unit which is nearest to them. We need to get a 5 or more, and we certainly do. So essentially what we're going to have is 13 onto 8, and Zulus being fierce fighters, British needing 5, Zulus 4s. Let's look at the Zulus first. Rather modest 2 kills. Whether it's the leader in amongst them? No, it's not. It's the British this time needing 5s. And that's 5 casualties. Is it the Zulu leader? No, it isn't. Okay, so the Zulus are knocked back here. A small unit, and we need to take a test and see if they're pinned. And yes, they are. Now with C Company, I'm going to say that they're going to fire here at this unit. They don't need to take a test to do so. Not all of them can fire, just the ones in the first 2 ranks. I think that's still going to be 10 firing. Long range needing 5. So that's 2 more casualties. Take a test here. It's a leaderless unit, which would be an 8. It's already pinned, which is 1, and we've just taken 2 casualties, so we need an 11. And no, now I need to take a double check on this, because the deduction we had to make was a pin, and we've taken 2 casualties, so it's down to 0. That might mean they actually rout. I'm going to say no, they don't rout, because this is a pin test. So they do take another pin, so it means they'll now have 2 pins, but they will need to take a rally test when it comes to their turn. Now over here we've still got 2 units that need to take a rally test. We've got the B Company, the British, and the Natal Native Contingent. B Company I think need 4s, and they're fine, so they rally. 7s with the Natal Native Contingent, and we get that. So in turn 5, desperate as it might be, the British position has improved. We have pushed back the Zulus by attacking. However, we've got another fresh unit right in front of them, so I see there's probably more attack going to follow. So let's turn to the Zulu turn. I'm going to take a test first of all with this one to see if it rallies. No, it doesn't. Right, so we have to take 2 from this because of the pin markers that are on at the moment, and as a consequence this unit will now rout from the board. Right, because the unit that in front of it is routing, we need to take a test for this one to take a pin test as a consequence. And that's a 6, so that passes its test. Now the rule is that if a unit routs within 12 inches, you need to take a test. But in terms of the units up front, I think they're going to be facing the British, not the Zulu, so I don't think they're going to notice that. But there is one unit which is close by on the right hand side there, and I think I'll take a test with them. The action for this turn for this one is going to take a pin test, and that passes no problem at all. Take a pin test for this unit, and that is going to fail. It doesn't go down to 2, but it gets another pin as a consequence. So we're going to have a test with this Zulu unit who are going to attack A company, and further across here I'm going to use the Zulu's attack, and I think it's going to attack both what is the remainder of B company and the Natal Native Contingent. I need to take a roll and see whether they'll do that attack, so I'll roll for both. This for the Fierce Fighters. No, they won't. They won't attack. That's a fail. And on the right hand side, with the 7, yes, they will go into attack. Actually, I've changed my mind here because I've realised that there's not a sufficient number of Zulu, so we'll just have the Zulu unit attacking the Natal Native Contingent. Before I work out that fighting, I've moved the other Zulu unit up here on the right hand side. So we've got 14 versus 11 here, both needing 5s. The Zulus and Natal Native Contingent aren't fierce fighters. Zulus first of all. That's 4 kills. If the leader is a casualty amongst it. No, he isn't. Needing 5s, 11 dice. Alright, so success for the Natal Native Contingent. 5 casualties, but we need to check whether it's the leader. No, it's not. Right, so we need to check whether the Zulu unit are actually pinned. No, they aren't. So that's the end of turn 5, and it's turned into a really good game. The Zulus, who look like they were just going to walk through the British, have been stalled, and we've now turned to turn 6. British are in a fairly solid position, and let's see how we move next. And so over to turn 6, and the game is still sort of fairly poised, although I think I'd much rather be the Zulus than the British, although we've got a unit here that's taken some casualties. We've still got in the main 2 fierce fighting units in the centre, and then we've got another on the right hand side there. The British, although they're holding with A company there in the middle, the problem that they've got, as we'll find in this turn, is that they're going to attack rather than stand and fire volley fire into this unit. So they're going to take on a very handy Zulu unit. So let's start and see how we go. First thing I'm going to start with is B company. We've got half a dozen figures here, and they're going to fire at short range into this unit here. Still 5s to hit. It's not volley fire or anything like that, so they're not in close order either. 5s to hit with 6 dice. 5s to hit, and that looks like 4 casualties. Make sure it's not the leader, and it isn't. And the units are going to need to take a pin test, and with 4 casualties, that's a fail, and they are pinned. Now I'm going to take a look at C company, and they're going to fire 10 men, so we're not going to form into close order or anything like that. We're just going to fire because they can. It's going to be long range at this unit needing 5s. 10 dice needing 5s. And that's 2 casualties at long range. This was it the leader. No, it wasn't. Pin test needing 7s. Yes, that is a 7. Although it took a couple of casualties, it's not pinned. Now I'm not going to do anything with the Natal Native Contingent. So that just leaves A company. Now if you remember, our main character likes to fight rather than fire. So they're going to attack the Zulus in front of them, but we need to test whether they will pass that attack test. So it's 5s, and they fail. So they stall, and this unit doesn't attack. So it's the Zulu turn. So we're going to move this unit further up towards C company. I need to take a test in the centre just for these pin tests, so we can't really move in the centre. Here on the right hand side, I think we're going to try and attack the Natal Native Contingent again, and we'll then with our 3rd fierce fighter unit move up towards the centre. The units are advancing, so let's first of all test a couple of pin tests. This one that's already got 2, it's got a leadership of 5, so we need 7s. And they rally. The unit next to them have a leadership of 6, and we've also got 1 pin, so we need 7s. 7s. And 7 it is. Well, both units are fine, so we need to have a look at the right-hand side and see whether we get a fight again with the Natal Native Contingent. The leadership is 5. And that's fine again. Over here we've got 9 for the Zulus, 7 for the Natal Native Contingent, and all of them need 5s. And this time a Zulu victory, 2-1. Zulu leader. No, it wasn't. The Natal Native Contingent leader. No, it wasn't. And with that, the Natal Native Contingent are pushed off the board and effectively break and lose to the Zulus. And suddenly, in that gap, this unit can stream through and attack A Company. We just need to roll and see whether they will. The ship is 5, but they won't. They freeze in the moment. So that's the end of turn 6. The British have lost their Natal Native Contingent, but the game isn't, absolutely over. Let's see how we go in turn 7. We start with C Company, firing onto the Zulus as they advance there, and then I'll move on to B Company, firing on the unit right next to them. We'll have a look at A Company and who they might attack in a moment. Okay, 10 dice, short range. 3 casualties, but we'll need to have a pin test. And unfortunately that is a fail, so the Zulus are pinned. The Zulu leader. No, it's not. B Company leading 5s. And that looks like 3 casualties. The Zulus are pinned again. No, they aren't. Is it the Zulu leader? No, it isn't. Now, A Company will do the same. They will look to charge the nearest unit. That's the trait of the leader. So I'll have to have a test and see if we get a 5 or more. Yes, they do, and they charge away. It would seem crazy, but that's what's happened. We have 13 for the Zulus, 11 for the British, and the Zulus are fierce fighters needing 4s, the British 5. Okay, the Zulus needing 4s. Dear, that looks a very, very good roll for the Zulus. That's 9. British response, needing 5s. It's not really a response at all. 2 casualties. Zulu leader killed? No, it wasn't. British leader? No, it wasn't. There goes A Company, and it's automatically pinned. Well, it's now the Zulu turn, and I think this is where the whole thing gets closed out. Let's start off over here to see whether we can, the unit on the left-hand side can pass a rally test. Needing 6. And they've passed. The unit is going to follow up on here. Let's just pass whether it will attack. Needing a 6, and yes, it will. Here I'm going to have to take a test to see if this small unit will wheel round and attack the British from the rear, giving enough gap to allow this unit to charge in also. I'll have to take a test for both units. Well, the outflanking unit needing 5s, does it no problem. Major unit again needing 5s, charges in. Well, I think we have a formality here. I will roll some dice, but this is going to be very much a Zulu game. First of all, A Company fighting to the last with 2 men, causing 1 casualty. See if that was the leader. No, it wasn't. Zulus 11 needing 4s. Well, it would have actually been so close because the Zulus, in fact, only killed 2, but there are only 2 in A Company, and that is wiped out. There are 6 men in B Company, again looking for 5s. 1 casualty. Is it the leader? No, it isn't. 4 Zulus who are outflanking, needing 5s. That's 2 killed. And then we've got a further 10 needing 5s. And I think that's a total of 5 killed. And is it our leader? No, it's not, but only just. Right. At this point, I'm going to call it a day. We can see we have our leader of B Company just at the back there on his own, and we're then left with C Company against a huge mass in terms of the Zulu forces who are closing in on them. Now, the game itself is actually to fight for this, for the dressing station, and it's most certainly been won by the Zulus, so therefore I'm going to call it a day with this game and say that it's a Zulu victory. So just to close off, I just want to say thanks very much for watching. Really appreciate all your thoughts and ideas in terms of the game, and indeed everybody who has continued to join the YouTube channel. Now got almost right to 1,000 at the point of producing this video. So thanks very much for all the support right across this year. It's been really from 0 to 1,000 over 2020. It's a bit of a challenging year, quite obviously, but at least things like these games have been well supported, and we've been able to get engaged in the hobby. And so, just a final point is on the YouTube channel there are other The Men Who Would Be Kings games. They're all Anglo-Zulu games with various different endings and different sides winning. If you want to take a look at that, there's a playlist with various different ones to have a look through. So, thanks once again, and we'll see you soon.